Evie, you making your calls yet?
Oh, I thought I heard you, darn it.
I'm going to call you out.
I wish I could make calls. My list of PRs, like 75% of the phone numbers on my leads just aren't good, or they're DNC.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You got to call them anyways.
Yeah, you don't call the DNCs?
I do.
I do.
I'm not a fan of seeing a $43,000 fine hit me.
You've seen that happen? Or
I have not experienced it. I'm doing risk avoidance.
Prospecting avoidance.
I disagree. I mean, it's risky. It's a big bill to pay.
I made my first round of phone calls on Friday, and you're telling me this?
No. Do what you guys do, but they're really going after the bigger companies that do the auto dialing, and you can get threatened, but you just got to, like Kevin Ward says, just apologize and say, look, I didn't see your name on there. I won't call you again. No big deal.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Usually the ones on the DNC list are the nicest to talk to because they never get calls.
So I have a question.
That's a good way of thinking of it.
No, first of all, before you ask your question, Chad wanted me to let y'all know that I'm the host of this week, and I've been promoted to Probate Mastery Coach, Dave Pannell, and I'm here to answer any questions, and y'all give me some topics to talk about.
So I haven't felt comfortable enough to do role playing with anyone other than my husband. And he's been tough on me. He asked me a question last night when I did my introduction. He said he didn't have any needs that needed to be met, but thought there was a ghost in the house. How could I help with that? Of course, I wanted to say call Ghostbusters, but I mean, have you ever had anybody say anything like that?
That's a great response, because you do want to turn things funny, not funny, but you want to make it lighter. Say, hey, that's a good opportunity for me to come over and meet y'all. I'd love to meet your ghosts.
Okay.
That's what I would do. I have an investor right now that has a house that he's flipping, and all through the process, they've heard things and doors closing and weird noises in the back of the house. And now every realtor that shows the house, they're seeing the same thing. He took it off the market just to get it blessed. So you can call your local church, and they usually have the people that do
exorcism. Yeah.
We had one house that we bought that was 120 years old, and we had it blessed just in case.
I have another question. I never hear anybody indicate that we should make calls on Saturday or Sunday. And I find that I'm not getting good pickups 8 to 10 and 4 to 6. What's wrong with calling on a Saturday? I'm out West LA. We don't got a real religious area. It's La La Land. Maybe Sunday, but why not Saturdays? I think it'd be a great time. I'd speak to somebody on a Saturday rather than calling me, bothering me at the office. I don't appreciate those phone calls.
It's like working out. Until you get to the gym, you don't feel good about it. And same with prospecting. It doesn't matter when you do it, lead follow-up or phone calls. I like to call on Saturdays from 10 to 1, but it seldom happens. If I don't have something planned with my wife or kid going somewhere now, but Saturdays, it doesn't matter when you make the calls. You're going to reach people when you don't expect it, and you're going to have great conversations with people that you never expected to have a conversation with. I was calling expireds almost 11 days ago, looking for houses that didn't sell. And since I have the experience to probate, I came across one that looked like it had a state as the seller and it expired as is property. So I got her on the phone, and I'm the only one knowledgeable that talked about certain topics that kept her on the phone. She had several people call her that day, and now she's selling 2 houses to me. One, the as-is house, and the one she's living in that she did not want to sell in the beginning. She wanted to pay one off, but she's not getting as much money as she thought with one house. So you just never know the conversations you're going to have.
As one of your students, David, I got to say, I need to hear that call, man.
I was just going to say, I'd like to
it's
hear
in there. Yeah, I think I try to put all my calls, because everything I do is recorded. Let me see if I put it in there real quick, not to delay y'all.
And Dave, are you coaching to investors or are you coaching to agents?
Mainly coaching on the part that we should talk about today on the follow-up and the conversion and the phone calls. Making calls, you're only going to get a hold of 10% people. That's known through prospecting. So even if you say you have bad phone numbers, you have to dial through those numbers to get that 10%. And then you're going to have those conversations that you're just amazed that they pick up the phone. It works out. You probably get one house under contract every week if you made 5 days worth of phone calls and didn't do the avoidance.
And to what Selena was just talking about, do you think Saturdays are still a good time to do?
Anytime's good time when you get on the phone, because you're going to leave voicemails for people, and then you're going to follow up on those calls. So any day's good.
Okay, I've got a question there.
Okay.
I left a few voicemails. And then they called me back. I didn't hear what their name, who I was talking to, because I have other businesses. That was just a disaster. I managed to get through the conversation. And at the end, I had to go, excuse me, tell me your name again. I made a few calls the other day when I had a few minutes, but how do you deal with not knowing who's calling you back? I actually looked at the phone a few minutes before I had the nerve to pick it up.
That's where you're going to have to assume the conversation and try to be buddies and friendship. You're going to have to pick up the conversation as where they think it left off at.
Why'd you call me? Okay. What are you selling? Why'd you call me?
Yeah, I probably called you because your house was on the market, or I was looking in your neighborhood for a house to sell. I came across your phone number. Do you have a home that you're considering selling? And just shut up. Sometimes we talk too much when we should not be talking.
Amen to that.
Yeah, I think with the tracking your calls too, it depends on if you're just doing probate. Like I'm mostly just doing probate. I usually find their info before I call them back. So having different phone numbers for different marketing lists is important, I think.
Yeah, but if they're selling a house to you, it's an easy conversation to continue.
Right.
If they're calling back to tell you not to call, they're going to say it right off the bat and say not to call. So I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't even worry about looking them up. It's like calling through expireds or probate and looking up the house while you're calling. There's no reason to until there's a conversation that you need to look up the comps. Are you thinking about selling a house now or in 6 months to a year? You guys, that's the thing with the phone calls is our database is the most important thing we're building. It's not the appointments today. It's not the appointments. The appointments 90 days from now is what's important. And that's why if you're buying these probate leads, you got to make sure you have a system that's going to automate to these people that allows that follow-up. There's a deal recently I just did. And yeah, the lady said I only called her one time a year and a half ago. But she says, I've been getting your emails about the market updates. And then I got a drip campaign in my CRM that she thinks I was emailing her for the last year and a half. And she called me and said, am I still interested in buying her house? She almost begged me to buy it. I'm not on here to tell you guys I'm doing 100 deals a year in probate. I've done 23 this year. I've just put another 2 under contract, so 25 for probate this year. And that's pretty damn good. My goal is 50 every year, but with the pandemic and stuff going on, our courts are backed up. But I'm also looking in expireds for sell by owners, for rent by owners. I'm looking everywhere for distressed properties these days. So I know this is a probate mastery, but it's going to lead you to other opportunities by the knowledge that you have to get through title issues through probate.
Banks are going to let the residential foreclosures loose next year, probably February. I do the work for Bank of California, and I know they have 22 they're sitting on that they'll probably release in January to me to start the foreclosures. It's coming. It'll come next year.
That's good. Perfect. Be right in time. Same with probate. There's people tied up in probate court. Every deal I've done so far has been a year held up in court. But the probate ones I love whenever I hear an opportunity in probate is there's a family member that's renting a house that is in the property that they own, or it's held up in court, and it gives me a year or two to follow up with them through Sierra. I call probate 5 days a week for at least 2 hours a day. And I would love to have appointments every day, but I'm not going to get on here and tell you it's that perfect. It's not. But what is perfect is you're going to get at least 2 to 5 good conversations that week. And those people are going to be added to your CRM. And those numbers add up. You add 5 people, 2 to 5 people a day over a week. That's going to be 20 to 25 new contacts in your CRM. Then over a 52-week or 47-week cycle, vacations, whatever, you're going to get another 1,000 people in your CRM that you physically talk to about selling a house. At some point, that's going to turn in positive for you. But if you're delaying because of the DNC list or delaying because you don't want to call on a Monday because you don't feel good, you're not going to ever build that database. And if you never build a database, you're never going to have a business. You're never going to put product on a shelf. You ever go in a gas station and wonder how they keep those places stocked? Or Walmart? My mind works different. I go into Walmart and I see all the product on shelf. I'm like, what is the process of getting that stuff here so that we have it to buy? It's the same in our database. You got to create leads, not purchase leads. You got to create leads and call and make conversations with people and relationships. And the hardest probate ones are the most beneficial. The wholesale fees are so outrageous. It's nuts. It's like selling $1 million home.
So since I was just making phone calls in the designated hours that were suggested, I have time during the day. Like I only have my first set of leads. I've already combed through them, found out if there's real estate. I've done due diligence on what I have, my whopping 64. Should I just be making phone calls during the day on these same people and maybe tracking when I call them, whether it's the 8 o'clock or the middle of the day, or do I wait for these magic times? Because I have
No. that I know there's an MIT study out there and it says when you should call or whatever. That's why a good CRM is good. Because here, let me show my screen. I'm not perfect either, guys. 29 overdue calls I have to make, and these majority probate. This guy, I've been calling him for 2 years to sell me a church. Crazy. But I haven't dropped him because he's in my prime status and I call him. He actually retired. Now he keeps telling me for the last 2 months that he's going to get my information to the new pastor. So every week I text him, say, hey, can they call me? Probate, River District. That's a probate, but that's a door driving for dollars in the neighborhood. This is the estate. This is the lady that's selling me 2 houses now because I called expireds. And this is another probate, but he wasn't on the probate list because they're heirs to a property that their stepdad is living in. They can't get him out of the house. So go ahead, James.
Yeah, Dave, I've got a question. I'm calling out of state owners. I've got my VA calling in-state absentee owners. And what I'm finding is that I'm reaching people. Like I called one guy, he said he's going to sell the property by mid-November. I get his email info. I asked him if I can send him an offer over, which I kind of regretted doing, but I did the Hurley boy approach like Bruce talks about, inching my way in. Would it be okay if I drove by and looked at the house from the street? Yeah, sure. Okay. Is anybody living in the house? Would it be okay if I looked in the back? If I, walked around the house and looked at it? Yeah, sure. That type of deal. But I'm confused about where to go from that because this is not a long-term prospect. This guy's wanting to sell his house in a week, but I didn't collect enough information from him to give him a wholesale offer. I wasn't able to get him back on the phone. Some of these guys are old school. They expect you to come look at the house. So I'm kind of stuck between that classical wholesaling approach where I make an offer on the phone versus me going and looking at the property. A lot of these guys are out of state. So they'll let you go look at the property, but they're going to sell it regardless. So I'm having trouble there. Where to go once I do find out they have property, I do get their email information. What do you think?
Yeah, if he's not picking up, you're going to keep calling him until you do reach him, of course. And you just got to get to the point in the conversation if they're accepting offers or are they looking to hire a listing agent. That's why I told you it's important for you to get licensed.
Right.
You got to have that option, and they're going to say yes or no, or they're not ready to sell yet.
He said the neighbor was interested in buying it when I was on the initial call, and then I did email him. I corresponded through email a little bit. I told him I needed some more info. Would it be okay if I called him? And then he told me, "Oh yeah, I'm not interested." So I'm like, okay, I don't know if he wants to sell to his neighbor or what, or if I just wasn't thorough enough. I wasn't professional enough in my follow-up or what it was. I don't know.
We all get those calls. It gets exciting because they pick up the phone and you have a conversation about selling and then they avoid you. But the neighbor is probably going to be a little under what he wants because he's so connected to the property. So stay in touch with him. Find a way to call him every 21 days and look up the house when you do and see if it's transfer title. And you're not going to win every battle. And when they do sell, he's going to answer your call because he's going to want an offer from you to see if the offer he has is justified.
Absolutely.
So
and what do you think as far as where the market's at right now? Like Bruce was talking about how if he can get a house at 90% value and he can get like a 7 cap, that he'll generally buy that property. My question is, say if the house is Zillow is 120, the values went up 30 grand in the past year, rents are 1,500 or 1,300 a month over there. Do I need to come in at 80% market value? I just don't really know where to come in at right now on my offers. I just feel like they're going to reject you if you come in at anything under 90%, kind of like Bruce was saying. But also that's not really good if you're running a wholesale business because there's not a lot of meat on that bone.
Yeah, do that Excel sheet because once you have your ARV number in there and your repairs that you think for the house, for the average square foot, you're going to know exactly what to make an offer for. And then you're going to test the waters. It's called anchoring. It's going to be a range. And you're going to test the waters, be like, hey, somewhere between 180, 190 or whatever it is, $1 and $10. You want to anchor them. You want them to say a price as much as you can, but you don't want them to say a price where it's going to kick you out either. I'd rather make my offers in person.
Absolutely. I collect info on the property. I ask them what their timeline is.
Yep.
Bulk at the range. Usually how I do that, I'll look at cash sales in that area within half a mile. If I don't see anything, up to 2 miles.
If you guys see my screen, you can see the net sheet that tell me what to make an offer at. So I have remodel cost, what I would spend on a house. So that number would carry over to the cost of my money. This is going to be a little confusing for most, but the buyer HUD, all my cost at closing, paying all their closing fees except taxes. And then what I think ARV is, that number comes down based on repairs and what I purchased at, closing costs to sell it. Then my net profit's $50,000 for a house. I want to make at least $35,000 on each house. 50 gives me a range to wholesale it, making $15,000, $20,000 for a wholesale fee.
That's really nice.
So-
I actually do something very similar. Of course, I just use my escrow company to get me the net sheet, but I run the ARV comps. I run the repairs cost in my market. And I just did this with a probate seller who I've been working with since January, follow-up. And what's unique about him is that he likes to communicate through Messenger. He wants to communicate so everything is somewhere written. I've only had one face-to-face, but I sent him everything, and then I was recommending, hey, you could go ahead and get all the renovations done up front. And that's with working with an investor who does them, and they get some money off the back end, but it gets you a higher net profit. And he didn't like the ideas, but I did give him a range. I gave him the as is. I gave him what an investor would pay for it. And I gave him what he would get if he did the repairs. And it's interesting. He went with the as is. However, when you list an as is property in my market anyway, and it's probate, 98% of them investors are buying. They want that higher as is price, but they figure it's close to what the comps are and they don't realize, wait a minute, condition. What do you say to when you're presenting all those options? They're going to come in wanting the higher price. And that's where I'm at with this guy.
Hey, if they have an attorney involved in the process of comps, you're going to have to list the property regardless. If they're not the decision maker and they're leaning on, it's the father-in-law rule in real estate. If you're
Yeah,
showing
I
a
don't
buyer
list the
houses,
properties. I don't buy the properties. I only list properties. I don't buy them as an investor.
that's your first mistake. I'm just being honest. I'm going to be honest with people
Go
that
for
that's
it.
your first mistake. You need to pivot. I've written a course, not meaning to. I wrote a magazine book that I send out, resume, and it's just blossom into everything I do for appointments. You got to start being an investor. I love listings myself, but you have to start looking at maybe wholesaling some properties. Yes, they want the most money, but most people are concerned about timeline.
Yeah, there's that too, because that's been the experience, especially with my last ones. I told them about how they could get it renovated and make $200,000 more. They
Yep.
didn't care. They just
They
wanted.
don't care. Unfortunately, they don't care. And I've
And I
lost
am an
listings.
investor, and I am an investor too. It's just I'm not picking up the probates. I'm just listing them. But I hear what you're saying. If they can get a cash offer and get it sold fast, the majority of the time they'll take it, but they want that cash offer to be higher than 70% of ARV minus repairs.
That's fine. Find buyers that pay 80, and those are your rental, your
Buy
people
holds,
buy and
yeah.
hold.
Yeah.
They'll pay 86% of ARV, 90% ARV. I'm gonna sell a few to Bruce.
Yeah, Chad
Um,
told me that a while back. He's like, you need your buy hold investors because most of my investors are good.
100%. And I got rid of all my flippers and wholesalers on my list when he said that. So I took action immediately. I got it down to 52 investors that I work with solely, and they're not always ready to buy a house. I get 1, 2, 3, 4 people that will go out and look at a property, but they know when I send them something, it's a good deal.
Yeah, you can
And-
find buyers.
and
on
the whole-
prop stream, you can find them at the trustee sales, all that stuff. You can find buyers.
Source. I have a few, but
That's your job, Nina.
Yeah.
I want you to work on that for the next 30 days. Build your buyers list.
buy hold list.
Not to put you on the spot, how many listings have you taken this year?
3.
Okay, I'm putting you on the spot. That sucks.
No,
You got to get more listings, and then you got to get more wholesales.
but the thing is, with my brokerage, I'm not supposed to wholesale.
Oh, find another broker. It's your business. It's your money. It's your wealth. You need to start building your wealth, not someone else's. Get out of that mindset. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you can be brutal with me. It's all good. I don't mind.
It comes from love. I don't know you. I've never talked to you, Nina, but it comes from love.
I hear you told. I'm that way with people I've coached, so it's all good.
Okay. And that's just me. I know that I was missing a huge opportunity. I subscribed to all the leads back in 2014, didn't do anything for 2 years. I tried to rewrite the scripts. I've tried everything. And then I was giving money to people to fix up their houses to get the listing because I thought I wanted to be a listing agent. I literally gave someone like close to $24,000 and they got mad at me because the ceiling fan I changed out. They didn't want me to throw away their kid's Disney World ceiling fan that looked like it had 30 years of dust on it, but they wanted me to save it for them. So then I switched. My wife was like saying, why are you putting money into other people's houses when you could be buying them? Changed everything for me.
I just wanted to say, I hear you. I've actually been contemplating getting my broker's license and setting up my own little shop where I pretty much can have the rule of, oh yeah, I could just pretty much, yeah.
Do it. It's beautiful. Do it.
Where do you live?
I'm in LA.
Oh, okay, good.
I want you to do it. Everybody on this call, you've got to start thinking about making cash offers, either assigning them to your investor clients or you list them and you sell them to your investors. Either way you feel comfortable, either you take an easy sell on a listing. I hate to say easy, but as is house, you're going to list it below market value. It's going to sell pretty easily. and you charge that investor a buyer fee, plus you have a listing fee. And you could go in on a listing and go for a, I don't want to say discount, but you charge the family 1 or 2% to list it because it's easy sale. But then you have your buyer clients that already signed up with you that will pay you a commission. So you make 5 or 6% on everything you do.
David, I have a question. I have your course that you haven't done all of it yet, but is that taught somewhere in that? Because to me, it's so confusing.
What's confusing? The wholesale part?
Yes.
Yes. Just the appointments, how to go on a cash appointment. I have 24 videos done. And yeah, this is going to be the largest section of my course. And they're going to be 5 to 15-minute videos. So it'll be easy to watch one a day or something. I hate to say this, but I didn't realize how good I was on appointments. And trying to train somebody to pay attention to the little red flags people position themselves on an appointment and to pivot. You have to know either to buy the house on the appointment or to take the listing. You could lose the whole deal by not having the right pacing. And that's a lot of asking permission on the appointment. I got a referral for a probate, and they didn't even know I was a probate agent. They just asked me if I would take the listing. I'm the only agent that answered the call that day. He called 3 agents. I was number 3. It's part of the Google local ads. And I looked up the house. They told me what price they wanted. They said it appraised for 190. I called the guy back, said, hey, look, if it's in rough shape, may I ask to buy it? Because I want to buy a house in this area. And he said, I don't see a problem with it. He was a nephew of the state. He wasn't benefiting. He was just trying to find a good agent for the family. I met the stepmother or the sister that was selling the property. I made her offer at 159, as is, right on the spot. I broke down. We got on a conference call with the other brother, and they told me if I would do 162, they'd sign the offer to. So I told them 161, and we bought the house. I assigned that one to an investor, a flipper actually.
You double closing?
And nope.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
My rule, if it was over $15,000 assignment, I would double close it. But then you look at the fees of funding, it takes about $4,500 of your money. That's not too good. So just put the wholesale on there, let everybody. Sometimes people balk at you if you have a wholesale fee of 40 grand. But the largest wholesale fee I've done was $41,000, and that was in January.
Hey, David, I'm Pam from Idaho. Just real quick. So do we have access to that, or is this for people that have signed up for your course?
Yeah, I'm selling it for $695. And of course, I'm going to go up once I finish on that initial price. But what I'm going to commit to is you have access to this Google Drive, everything now. I'm going to explain everything in screen videos to everybody. But I'm also putting a book of everything. So you'll be shipped that as well. So it's going to be pretty, just give me a little bit of time. I'm developing it. So it's a relatively lower price right now. Not to sell you guys on it, but I'm pretty proud of it. I'm actually going through all these and making videos of everything. Let's see. So the appointment, then I put how numbers work. When you sell more than 6 houses a year, you want to keep track of your numbers and where that comes from. So I'll show you CT real quick. I hope this is a beneficial call. I'm just like I normally do, just all over.
Very.
It's not opening. So, well, CT is an Excel sheet on steroids. If you go on his Facebook page, look up Calvin Mergen and just add to the group, you'll see he's doing amazing things with Excel where you can put in the house you're selling and you put in the numbers, the source, and then it just keeps track of all your closings and your commissions and your transaction costs. It's really neat. So the same idea with house flipping. We could go over that if you want to, the net sheet. I'll go over that with y'all guys.
So David, does this include a CRM for probate?
I use Sierra Interactive. It's $400 a month. But when you're thinking about the lifetime value of your database, and that's what I'd love to talk to you guys about, if I stress it enough, if you don't have a CRM, you need something here. I paid Sierra close to $20,000 to have their website in this CRM. Now they charge a monthly fee. And it's a cloud based. So to give you an idea, it's everybody's contributing knowledge and making it better. They constantly make it better. You request a feature, but you don't have to build anything. That's what I'm saying. I bought into CRMs where you have to program this, Zapper this, do this. And yeah, you have to build some action plans out. But Sierra is my CRM of choice, and I would stress that you buy into it.
So would you suggest that we wait until we outgrow all the leads? Or if you're new like me, go into this and also probably get off a LionDesk?
LionDesk is fine too. You just got to have your action plans in place, because it's not about you being new. It's about you having 2 to 5 people a day added to your data. Just if you had SEO completed, or if you're running Google ads, you would have certain people come into your database. Where do they go and what do you do with them when they're in there? Most agents forget about them after the first or second call. So when I talk to somebody on probate, I automatically add them to all these are action plans. Like someone will subscribe to condos downtown, and I have 18 emails that I've written, and it's not difficult. It's just 18 emails that go out of different communities in that downtown area. It's the same principle on probate action plan. I have 34 activities. Every 21 days, I want to either text them, but I have reminders in there for me to call them again.
Are you doing the
So-
video text yet? Which I got out. They don't have to push a link or anything. It shows up on their phone, and if they push the number,
They just released that on Sierra, so I have not played with it, but that'd be perfect for what we're doing, because we want to keep them nice and short, but keep our face in front of them of what we could do. Remember, people inheriting a property in probate, or if they have a distressed property, they just want to know that you're not out to take advantage of.
And
So
the nice thing about this video is if you do it once, you use the same one. So look good for one day, shoot a decent video, and you use that same one over and over again.
it's the same
Yeah.
principle. You just want to stay in touch with them. You want a system to remind you when to touch base with them. If you don't have market updates, you don't have emails, make sure it reminds you to send them a text message that's personal, or sends them a task for you to call. The first thing we do when we put somebody in, my first task is for my mom, Barbara Newton, to send our probate resume. And that's a group of these 3 magazines that we send. She writes a little handwritten note on the sticky on it. And for $2.30, they get all this in the mail, and they don't throw it away. They may not even open this thing, read it at all, but it remains in their file for probate. And I'm the thickest thing in their file, I guarantee you. But then they
Yeah.
start getting all this helpful information. I have an attorney video that I interviewed him about monument of title, email to probate resume. So I'm checking on, make sure they received the book.
The book and the postage total is costing.
I think it's $230 my mom puts down. So she just bills me at the end of the month and tells me I owe her $400. And then she reminds me 18 times in a row. You know what I mean? But then they're in my system. I have their email, their cell phone number, because I've talked to them, and I give them all that. They can't deny that I'm going to be someone to call. But I can't tell you honestly if I'm not getting everyone call me back. I have to call them. Let's see here on Sierra, I have 159 people in probate. So all these people are on some type of drip, or I'm calling them all the time.
Where would you suggest the video come in if you're going for a 12-month cycle of marketing, that personal touch? What phase? First letter's gone out, telephone calls been attempted. Where does that quick text video go?
About a day or two after you send a letter. That way they associate it, and make sure you hold up the letter. I said, hey, I sent you this letter, reference the letter. You want everything to match, so they can't deny when they see your stuff. Like my color's purple. Everything they get from me is purple. That's my brand. People know me by the purple agent in Fort Worth, but that's also TCU college color. So
I just want to share one thing. I happen to have, I don't know if anybody knows this, but Starbucks does personalized gift cards with your logo on it and information. And I just happen to have some extra ones, and they're only for $5. And I had 2 very good people yesterday with stories, and I'm sending them a card to tell them to have a cup of coffee on me that's handwritten, and I'll let you know how it goes. I think they're going to be very responsive based on
Absolutely.
their situation and our conversation. There's 7 children, and there's a story behind it. So I really think she'll enjoy have a cup of coffee on me.
that's right. We send those after we go on the appointment. So after I meet them face to face, if they do something with us or not, we send them a Starbucks gift card in the mail.
That's funny because that's what I do, and they
Yep.
they responded very well.
Oh, hell yeah. It's reciprocity or something. I can't remember the
Yeah.
word.
You branding it with your logo.
So instead of using my business card, I'll buy $500 worth of gift cards, and I'll keep $100 for myself. So it's a tax write-off too.
I just feel like that this gets them, it's in their wallet. It's got my name on it,
It all works. It's just like
Yeah.
Saturday. You don't have to call on Saturdays, but it's
Okay.
better. It's more effort. Absolutely. And the more you could brand and be in front of somebody and have your picture in front of them is game changer. Always.
Oh, so Dave, you said you're doing that after the appointment. So Lena, when are you sending the card out?
I had a great conversation yesterday with 2 people, really motivated me. It was only my second day calling. And these 2 people, I just feel like sending this handwritten card today, have a cup of coffee on me, what they'll get it in 3 days. I'm set to call them back each in 3 weeks. And in the meantime, they'll receive another letter, their second letter in that time. So they'll have
That's perfect.
4 touches from me before I actually call them again.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're sending it in response to the conversation.
Yes. This is,
Whereas
you know,
Dave
for $5.
An appointment. Got it. Okay.
You know, I've got to have a good feeling for and plus realize I'm only working with 64, you know, a little different. I assume I'm not going to be able to be as aggressive or have this kind of time later. I hope to, but yeah, I can put everything into my whopping 64.
Gotcha.
What's 64? Your leads?
That's all I got. And I already personally scrubbed them I know who died in a nursing home and where they died and if they own property. And I've put
Nice.
deeds on houses.
But just imagine you're 5 years deep now and you have 1,500 people to follow up with. How are you going to do that?
I'll make phone calls and I've already
Yep.
got an attorney paralegal ready to pick up as soon as, you know, I have
Yep.
an overflow. So
Perfect.
ditch it, do it or delegate it.
So how can we make that easier for everybody else on the call? I know you're badass, but for everybody else on the call, it's just you got to have some kind of system to follow up people. You've got to. That's why that CRM, if you're adding 64 people or 2 people, there's got to be a reminder for you to do something with them every 21 days. Or based on the conversation, if it's 7 days, it's 7 days. And always cut their time in half, whatever they tell you. If they tell you they're a month away, they're 14 days away from making a decision. Get out there and that.
I can tell you that all the leads, the way they set up their CRM is great. It's just not powerful enough. So I'm having to run the dual from them to export it to LionDesk, but it's great.
No, it's only for downloading. I only download it and then I organize if they're out of state, if they have a house and they're local, it's a house that within an hour driving distance based on zip codes. And then if it's a spouse. So the spouse gets delay for up a year to 18 months. I'm not worried about them. The out-of-state probates are the most important to call. They're the most difficult ones. So they're going to be in the system a lot longer.
Yep.
And then the ones that are local with the house to sell, you could drive and door knock them or send them mail. Those are your mailing list, really. The ones that are local are going to do something because they're going to find a local realtor. The ones that on out of state are probably more of a phone call. But don't take me for verbatim. I've purchased $10,000 worth of leads this year and I've only done 23 deals. It's not easy.
Yeah, but how many of those are you touching? I know you're doing your drip feed. That's a lot of people to be reaching out to. The majority of your lead gen passive, because if it's passive, then it makes sense you don't have as high conversion.
It is passive because there's only certain people that raise their hand.
Yeah, I have my drip campaigns, but I just literally, for the most part, do a weekly check-in with everyone, whether it's call, text, or email. And I can send video of my CRM.
Good.
I as intelligently, a lot of it's automated. So for me, it's just once a week makes sense because the more you're in front of them, the more they're going to convert with you. It's top of mind. But
Have
like
you
I
only
said,
done 3 probate listings? Is that what?
3 probate actual listings? But I can tell you that most of my probates are what you just described earlier. They're 6 months to a year out before they're.
Yeah, that's fine.
I've been a probate specialist for a while, and then my clients are like, "You should be an attorney." And I figured, okay, maybe I'm good at this. And I met Bill, and Bill was like, "Hey, come and work with me." So,
Nina, what are you seeing in terms of conversion for the once a week touch? Are you seeing a statistic on that?
that's a good question. So, as far as it's about responsiveness, and right now, for the ones that I've had engagement with, they're responsive. They'll say, "Yeah, we're still waiting on this. Oh, yeah, we're looking into this." And again, my follow-up is, "Hey, I checked your case record. I see that this is happening. And I know your court date's on the 10th. Is there anything else that you needed from me? Hey,
Nice.
make sure you have this. I want to send you this, by the way. I don't know if you have this, something to consider." So I'm always bringing them value. So to answer your question, most of those, like I said, they're 6 months to a year out, maybe less than a year now. And that's all because of COVID and the court delays.
Yeah, me too.
Have
I'm having
their
the same issue.
letters to be able to list.
Are you getting an ROI on your ATL list?
I don't buy ATL. I get my leads from an attorney. And his team scrubs them, and I pay $50 a month, and he gets everything. He's got all kinds of data in there, similar to all the leads. Yeah.
I find the best return with the most expensive leads, which is Alta leads. I just find that paying anywhere from $1 to $3 a lead, it just makes me call them better. So and the money's there, so I don't mind spending it.
But I will say that I think that their scrubbing of the phone numbers and all the leads had a very high, good phone number return or quality. number.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but they just,
That's right.
Yeah.
yeah, it's right. And it
Like I
works.
said, 75% of my leads, I'll get 5 and 6 numbers in 5 columns, and literally every single one of them says DNC. So for me, and I know you're saying, Dave, you're like, forget about it, just call them. But my point is that even some of those numbers are just bad numbers. So there still is a good percentage of them that are just bad numbers.
You're only going to get held at 10%. So that's what
Okay.
you're building a business on. My wife does letters. She does not go after the probate because she doesn't like dealing with those, but she goes after foreclosures and tax sales. And she gets about 1% call ratio, and she sends 1,000 letters a week.
Wow.
She picked up 2 listings this week. One's $1 million listing that's on the tax sale, and then she's buying a property for $30,000. So it's
So that's
it's
an
10%
inbound.
calls, 1% letters.
So that's an inbound call ratio you just gave?
Outbound. Oh, for letters, it's 1% after 3 or 4 months. It's ridiculous. I
So that's
don't.
pre-foreclosure, Dave?
Yeah. And pre-foreclosure it's always a hot topic, but the margins are always different because people don't want to sell their houses. They're losing their house. So their perspective is that they don't want to get rid of it. So they're going to wait until the last day and then file bankruptcy and then eat up their equity. So the best deals I find now that my whole business model is going after distressed is the tax sales that are behind on taxes, probate, and then driving for dollars in the neighbors when you go on appointments, and adding people to like a deal machine app or a driving app where you could click the house and add it to if you see a distressed house, and then you mail them.
Do you know how to get notice of default, like for the pre-foreclosures, like the notice of default or notice of sale? I'm trying to figure out how to get that, man. Do you have to get that from the lender or what? Because I don't think that goes through the county, does it?
It's Title Pro 24/7.
You can also get them from Foreclosures Daily, and I have a code you can use to get a discount.
Or just find someone local that does it. We have Rodney Report, and they do a Dallas report.
And here in Georgia, they have a website, GeorgiaProbateRecords.com, that gets all the rural counties. It's 40 counties. So basically he just kind of got it doing pulling from there. Basically, it's mostly rural, which isn't great. It excludes all the metro Atlanta counties. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of records. Yeah, it's working.
Have
well.
you, we haven't talked in about a month and a half. Have you done any deals on the investment side?
No, I've been calling a little bit, but I finally got a good cold caller, a good English speaking Filipino lady calling for me. So she's getting a good bit of leads. Yeah, she sounds very.
I didn't get any new deals in
excellent.
August. I didn't get any new deals in August, September. So I was a little worried. I didn't know what was going on. And then it blew up. In October, I wrote 8 offers and then regular listings too. So we got almost 11 deals on the board just in the last 30 days. So it was weird.
Excellent. David, I want you to expound a little bit on how you're making offers. I know you're going for you're trying to get appointments and you're not making offers on the phone. You said you're giving a range. How does that look when you actually get out there and you are making an offer, say on the wholesale side or the listing side?
It's not so much about making the offer of the house. It's asking the right question, asking the timeline questions, the amount of money they want, just getting to know them, having that rapport. I just made an offer on a house today, and it's between me and one other investor. And he said out loud, I don't really trust this other investor. She came into the house, she started blowing it up, saying all these things wrong with it. So that tells me that I better not go to that house and be like, oh, this is shitty. You've got to ask. And he's calling me bro, brother, and bud.
So important, man.
Yeah. Most investors will go to a house and be there 10 to 15 minutes. And they won't build rapport on the relationship side. It's great. It's 100% needed to have a CRM to build a database. But if you're not building that relationship with these people, you're not going to get deals. They're going to think you're taking advantage of them, or they're just going to go to the next person that is calling them, that is building a relationship with them. Because I've won deals. I've won deals $10,000, $20,000 below other offers, but they thought that I was more honest about the repairs that were needed. And I didn't make a big deal of it. I just said, these are the numbers. This is what I have to buy it for. But I've lost houses too. I'm not perfect either.
You can only be so good. You've got a lot of experience as an agent. I mean, you know how to deal with sellers.
And you'll develop that. I remember when I first got in real estate in 2006, I was buying every sales book because I was worried I wasn't going to be a good sales guy. And it's just reading those books, going on appointments, failing. You're going to learn this stuff. It's beautiful. But James, man, you got to make those calls. I told you an ISA is important, but an ISA, because that relationship.
Oh yeah, I'm so good, man. You're so much better than a VA. I'm calling and I'll call for 2 hours and I'll get 3 leads that are going to sell
in the next 6 months. It's crazy.
A VA is only going to get 25% of that 10%.
Yep. No matter how good that English is.
No
that's
matter
what it's
how.
gonna be.
So the money's not the best person to call. And I told Eve this. Is she still on here? She's the perfect age to call these, not to call you out on your age. I'm just saying.
That's okay.
You told me you're like 21 or something. Evie's the perfect age for probate, and anybody between 40 and 65 or 70 years old, we're perfect for probate because we're dealing with the people in that age group that are selling their parents' homes. Not that a 21-year-old can't, like James. I'm just kidding, James. But I'm not saying that they're not these wholesalers that go to these weekend meetups and they think they're going to be investors. We're just having different conversations with people once you get past the avoidance factor and you get into a conversation with people about buying their home or listing it. But you have to listen for those clues of what direction I should go by asking. You got to ask questions. You got to lead the conversation by asking questions.
The highest value question that I've found entering the phone call is noting that I see they died in August or something along those lines. And you do it, I know how you feel. I know there's some mourning that goes along because I've lost people too. And I understand how you feel. Where are you at right now with all of it? And all of a sudden you become a person rather than I'm interested in, you got a house in there that you're going to sell. It's just basically getting that connection and saying, I've lost loved ones as well. And I know there's a period of mourning and remorse and bereavement that you have to go through, using those kinds of words, mourning, bereavement, a period that you have to get through. And sometimes you get stuck in that and frozen and can't do anything. Where are you at with all that? What can I take off of your plate? How can I help you?
That's exactly right. Wow. Yep. And that goes back to just being open to a conversation with them. You don't want to have a hour-long conversation with somebody. You want to get to the point within 10 to 15 minutes and move on and get them into a database. But you got to have those conversations. Yep. Go
I
ahead,
have
sorry.
a question that brings in foreclosure as well as probate, and I want to make sure I'm right to just take it off my list. It's in probate. The property has a notice of default on it with a reinstatement of $382,000. It's a reversed mortgage. And the reverse
Oh,
mortgage is
geez.
for $1,095,000, and the Zillow estimate on the house is $779,000. I'm just,
Oh.
there's no opportunity. I dumped this, right?
Yeah, that's you got.
Well, maybe not.
Yeah.
Can I just really quickly speak to it? Because I've taken.
Yes, please, because I would dump that one.
Okay, I've taken a reverse mortgage course with some guys who are the most popular, Ryan and Robert. They sell reverse mortgages. So even though that's the reverse mortgage amount, that may have been the original reverse mortgage amount.
It is, but it's July 6, 2020 that the loan was taken out, and I looked at the deed of trust.
Okay.
So it can't be much less than that.
So so they're definitely underwater on
Right.
it, which is surprising because reverse mortgages, you have to have at least like 40% equity before they even give you the mortgage. And then they can only give you a certain amount of that remaining amount that you have available. So I'm surprised it's so high. But bottom line, the reverse mortgage, when heirs inherit the property, they have up to 1 year before they have to refinance or sell the property to pay off the debt. So the reverse mortgage continues to get paid, and it's paid out of the equity in the house. However, if it's in default, it sounds like it's because it's underwater. So you'd have to try to get a hold of the reverse mortgage servicer, which is very difficult because they're usually 3 deep before you can get to them. But as long as it's within a year, then even though it's in default, if you list the property and you get an offer, you can submit that before it's in escrow. You can submit that to the trustee for foreclosures, and they'll put a pause on the sale. So they won't, even if they're in 21 days in default, and you show them you have a listing agreement and you have an offer on the table, they can stop the foreclosure sale, which is 21 days in California from after default. So there's a few things you have to do to check to help these people out. First is contact the trustee and find out their rules for stopping the trustee sale. If it's at that stage, contacting the reverse mortgage company and the servicer to see how much time they have left before it's due. Then go back to the seller and say, this is your situation. It may end up being a short sale, but let's make sure and find out what the trustee sale dates are and what the servicer's dates are in terms of allowing for time before it has to be paid.
Okay, so what you're saying is the opportunity here is a short sale. I know where it is. I do foreclosures. I
Okay.
own a foreclosure company. I
No,
don't
sorry.
usually do residential. I do large commercial, but I do foreclosures in 9 states. Okay, so the opportunity is the short sale, and to explain to the personal representative, they would have no liability. They could let it go and not be bothered with the short sale. It's not their credit. It's not their.
It's
That's
going to hurt the estate. So if the estate has other assets in bank accounts, any other businesses, the reverse mortgage could file a claim against the estate for the remaining balance of what's owed.
I just did one of those, a short sale reverse mortgage. And there was nothing in there for the estate at all. The daughter had to actually we had to go to court and do a probate just to get it, to have authority to sell it. And we had to buy
Wow.
it and submit it to the bank. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. You had to be on top of it. Oh,
Yeah, but I would say for the business of it, Selena, and I'm sure I know you're super experienced in this. At least helping them get through this process means they become a referral past client.
Yes, but on that note,
if it's
though,
gonna
how
hurt
many
them.
deals are you passing up by being in the
Yeah.
mix on a deal that you can't buy or list
Yeah.
it was
quickly?
a long haul. Because the daughter felt real bad. She didn't want the parents home to sit there. So I went out of the way for her. She was an old
Yeah.
friend of mine.
Well, I have the time, so I guess now that you've given me this, I obviously can speak to the foreclosure. If I can get them on the phone, maybe I can get a short sale out of this or something for them.
Do you have the trustee's
Yeah.
phone number?
Yeah, I know them. We're friendly competitors,
Perfect. Then I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
find out exactly how much time you have and.
but I
what
know
the-
that from the notice of default. They've got to wait 3 months before
Yeah.
they can do the notice of sale, and then it's another. Usually estimate 30 days. So the notice of default was just
Right.
filed on September 20.
Oh,
So I
they have a
know.
little window. too.
Yeah, I
That's
know the
great.
time frame. I've pulled all the documents. I've reviewed, printed everything. Yeah, I've got everything.
So it's really this value issue that is the challenge. You said it was 750 on.
Zillow has it at 779. The original loan, $1,095,000, and they're delinquent to reinstate it, which we know they're not going to do, but $383,701.67, and that's with interest through September 23rd. So that's a big chunk of change.
Well, let's be hopeful with the fact that we know Zillow's algorithm is all jacked up anyway.
Very good.
So, but I mean, when people are in those situations, I'm the type of person, I help them out. And if helping them is going to create a relationship for referral business, I'm willing to do it. I just have to make sure my systems are in place so that it's not using, like Dave said, not using up a bunch of time that I may not get paid on, but.
Yeah. I mean, all this process for me is to make my life easier. So I'm not trying to solve everybody's problem. I want to buy houses as an investor now, and I want to buy distressed property. So if it's difficult, I'm going to pass a short sale on to somebody. I went through that nightmare in 2010 and 11 and 12. I don't want to do those.
Let me throw this in. I've done a short sale just 2 years ago, and I had the same attitude that you did, David, about I don't want to do this because I did that in 12 and 13 and 14. Short sales just to become a nightmare. But I found that Blue Anchor that's out of Florida has handled all of that stuff. And they just said, you collect it, send it to me. We'll send it to you. Add $1,500 to the sales price that the buyer is going to get a deal. And we'll handle all the paperwork. You just take it to closing and get it closed locally. That was awesome relief of just collection and forwarding the paperwork. And that's Jim's wife that runs the Blue Anchor foreclosure. They do national foreclosure, and they know who to contact in some of these obscure servicers and getting to the right party and getting through.
That's awesome. It's all worth it in the long run. So I just don't have the patience much anymore these days.
I know.
Well, I need the experience anyway, even if I fall on my face. I mean, selling real estate is new to me. Residential is really out of my. So I'm going to go for it, and I'll let you know how it goes.
That sounds good.
Is it only-
Ronnie, hang on. Ronnie has a question.
Hey, so I'm finding I'm in the New York area and I'm spending about $10,000 a year. I'm making enough. I'm making money so that $10,000 is covered, let's say. But in addition, I think the amount of leads that I get I'm just not hitting it home as much as I should. And I'm trying to figure out what is missing in my whole strategy, You know, I have the good CRM, I have the tasks, I follow up. I know there's a lot of competition everywhere, but there's a lot of competition here. You know, we're also competing with lawyers who try to make deals on their own because then they
Yeah.
make extra money. So that's our competition also. So I am trying to cozy up to the lawyers. I met someone today, for instance, there's a lot of multiple heir situations where they're trying to make a ton of money or just come out with money, and the broker fee is a big hurdle. I also have investors that I hook them up with, but investors are calling them and offering the investor amount that I can offer them as well. And I'm even offering investors where they don't pay a broker fee, because I'll get it on the investor side when they flip it. But I'm not sure what is missing that I'm not making the income that I probably should in terms of my investment. And I'm making the calls. I have an ISA, she's making calls. So I guess, you know, I need some help without going into, you know, I don't want to take over the phone call and tell you how I'm doing, spend hours on everything that I'm doing. But I don't know. I don't know what.
How many deals have you done with probate this year?
So with the leads, let me see. It's surrogates court around here was closed, and I don't even know if I have one that closed. I actually was titted this year because I actually was working with some buyers that saved me in terms of the year's whole earnings. So I can't even say for sure that this year I had a probate sale that I got closed. I have some in the pipeline.
You're spending $10,000
on the ATL leads and the Probate Plus.
So you got good data.
And that's not including the marketing. I'm sending the letters out.
Okay.
Price points here are like anywhere from 500,000 to upwards of, it could be 6 million. Of course, the 6 million properties, usually they have a broker or a fancy lawyer that's going to recommend a broker. So we're looking at anywhere from 500 to 2 million, I'd say. So yeah, I guess if I get one deal, that'll more than make up with it, because it'll be a $30,000, $40,000 commission. But when the amount of
7 deals though to really pay yourself back. So
how much?
You need 7 deals really to pay yourself back for what you're spending.
So I'm not getting 7 deals.
In a 12-month cycle, you should at least to get one every month, every other month.
I mean, so what's going on? What am I missing here?
You calling them yourself?
Some, yeah.
That's where it is.
No, I mean, I do a pretty good job, and then I just got an ISA, and she's pretty good too.
What's the ISA's personality?
She's a great voice. Amazing.
What's her personality? I don't care what her voice sounds like.
She's learning. She's very sweet.
What's her personality?
I like, what do you mean?
In a conversation, is she ordering at the dinner table, or is she letting you order for her?
She can, but she's getting more, she's a month in. She's really getting more confident with the materials right now, but she's done a good job so far.
Does she have any real estate background?
Minor.
Is it a friend of yours?
No, she was like the girl at the store who convinced people to open up credit cards, and she was really good at it.
All right, so it's trainable.
Yeah.
Make sure you do a personality test if your personality it's DISC. If she's a high S, that's where she's comfortable. It's where she's going to want to be standardized. So that's a good farmer ISA. That's a good follow-up person. My recommendation on hiring an ISA has to do the weakness that you have. And if it's your weakness, you got to hire an ISA for your weakness. You're a driver. Your personality is a driver. I could tell. Your voice, you drive the conversation. Every time I ask you a question, you overtalk me. That's fine. You just need to make the initial phone call. You need to get somebody in your system that's a farmer that's going to follow up with these people and get you the appointment, or at least set a call for you to call them about on an appointment. That's where you're messing up at, I can tell you.
There's so many that I miss out on. Oh, and is there a way to do a deep dive into my strategy and figure out so you're saying get the ISA who's a better ISA, or make more time that I should do the calls, or
are you training the ISA?
Yes, I send her the links to the calls.
Okay. That's not training.
She's gone over those.
You'll need to spend 30 minutes a day for the next 90 days calling each other. You need to commit to her. If you want to use her, you need to commit to her. People hire ISAs to get back to avoiding the phone call, and that's not You're trying to make money off of somebody that has no idea about how to buy a house, sell a house, have a normal conversation with somebody. And then when they mention the idea of selling it as is, they're bypassing it because they're only focused on setting an appointment.
Okay.
Everybody does the same thing. That's why I got on to James. He's not on the call anymore, but he wanted to hire an ISA. And I was like, you got to hire to your weakness. And if you don't, I don't like to follow up people. So if I would hire an ISA, it would be someone to make my follow-up calls and remind them that I'm in business. But my CRM does that for me, so I don't need that anymore. I don't
mean,
mind making the initial phone call because I multitask. I do other things while I'm letting the phone ring. And I know I'm only going to talk to about 9 people a day if I call 100. And then there's only 2 on that list that I'll talk to that will have a conversation with. I'm okay with that. For the 2 hours, I'm reading email or doing something else on my screen or looking at comps for a house that I'm gonna buy. And then someone picks up, I go into conversation.
Okay.
You're spending money on the leads. I would say you're not calling them more consistent for the initial call for yourself or following up with them. And then they're selling the house and you're just finding out later on that they're selling the house.
Right. And
Okay.
to find an ISA that is good, it's not easy.
I went through 18 people and we were trying to get them on appointments too, which an ISA's job is only to create the conversation or to follow up. Inside sales agent. That's what it's referred to. Inside sales agent. You are the appointment setter and you control your schedule. So you need to get on the phone and call these people and get them into a database and follow up with them. And you hire someone to follow up if that's your weakness. Or you have a CRM that will tell you when to call them and you have
Oh
to follow
yeah,
up.
I have 250 overdue tasks. Those are
That's it.
250
I don't need to
calls.
look at your business. You ain't doing the work.
I mean,
By next Tuesday, get those calls caught up.
250 and
got-
then
yeah.
it's draining the calls.
It don't matter. Don't know. It's exciting. Use different words.
Right.
It's exciting.
No, you're right. I hear you.
What are you going to
And
do
you
by
get
next
to
Tuesday?
a point where it's all referral, and it's hard with probate because it's like a one-time job, and then a lot of them live out of state and they're not referring you, and so you do want to get to a place where you don't have to sit home and make these calls, because it can, even if you love them. I mean,
My biggest 2 assignments came from probate referrals. That $41,000 assignment fee was from another probate that I helped 2 years ago.
okay.
They referred me to. She said, David will help you out. And
Mhm.
it wasn't even, she inherited the property and they didn't want it. It was a rental. They destroyed it. I went there and bought it.
So you're saying I need to make more calls.
100%. Yep. And
The
and train your
competency
ISA every day, 30 minutes a day.
Your
Right.
competency is in the conversations. Those conversations and that competency will make you enjoy those calls. I can tell you that there's a team out here who does probate, a husband and wife team, and they have a full team. And we were on a call. This is my previous brokerage, and we were on a call one morning, and she said, I'm trying to hire 2 new ISAs. I've got over 800 leads. And she said, the problem is that no one's qualified enough, and it's going to take me at least a year just to train them. A year in probate. They have a specific system, and they know exactly the conversations they're having because they have that level of competency. You won't feel like it's hard or that it's difficult or that it's exhausting when you become so competent in your conversations. You're going to feel like you want to have those conversations. That's where you want to be. I have a feeling you're going to be very successful with it, though.
Yes. Good job, Nina. Boom. Now take your own
I
advice. Get on the phone.
appreciate it.
Yes.
Dave is no joke. You are just no joke. You hit it hard, but look, get your stuff done. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
David, I have a question for you. Are you willing for
You're
a
out of
fee?
questions. Just kidding.
I didn't ask any 2 weeks. Are you willing for some fee with your proprietary system with Sierra to sell that piece of it, or?
Yeah, that's what the course is. So I'm gonna really work hard this next couple weeks to make videos of the emails I'm sending out. And some of the videos I've made, there's video testimonials of us completing a probate. It's just different things that keep me in front of them. So yeah, 100%. Pay the $695. You'll have access to everything I'm doing. It's my goal is to do 50 probate a year now. I used to go after 100. In 2019, we did 120 transactions. That was the year I did 47 probate. That's when Chad was doing the interviews with me because we had more callers on the phone and we just back-to-back appointments. Is exciting. But that was a lot of work. And we bought 37 foreclosures that year too. And then we had a baby in 2020 and stopped. So we're getting back to it this year. So you'll have access to everything. So that's a good way to end this. It's about an hour and a half. Anybody have a quick question that I can help you with? I had a wasp land on my desk. He's becoming a buddy.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
You have a monthly payment option on your course?
No, not yet. I'm probably going to do something like a role play thing.
It doesn't really say everything that's in it.
Like in the appointment, things we go for cash offer questions, cash offer process, price anchoring, trial closes, setting the stage, best practices, mindset, everything you need for an appointment. Then
Yeah.
we have home valuation tools. It's called Pivot Agent. I've changed the name a few times. My members are going crazy, but I want you to think about being, an investor too. So like for in here appointments, have all these different things to talk about to help you. Everybody teaches mindset, but it's just the way you ask questions on an appointment that
Right.
you have to be open to.
Now, for your letters, are you following all the leads letters, or is this your own design? Because you mentioned earlier that you edited some of those letters, you made it your own.
On a letter, it doesn't even matter what's in the letter. It just matters that you send something. So in my thing, I have 4 that I use. But again, it's about follow up and just sending them something in the mail so they remember that you're there to help them. So
Yep.
I've actually gotten down to just handwritten notes. So this is completely what I send. If I see a task come up, I write them a handwritten note in an envelope. Nothing too deep anymore. And it has Cities Real Estate on it. And I put, hey, this is Dave Pannell. I'm just following up with you. We talked, blah, blah, blah. And that works 100% better than coming up with some crafty content on the letter. 100%.
That's a pretty nice CRM there.
It's badass. I've been part of some other things, but if you look up Sierra Interactive, we were part of Real Estate Webmasters in the beginning. This is back in 2007. I got with Sierra in 2017. There's 4 agents that own Sierra, and they're just programmers too. And they program this whole thing. It's amazing.
Yeah, the one I have was designed by programmers, and a couple of them were agents. But it looks like it does a lot of what my CRM does too. Just looks better.
So again, these emails, you don't have to have, when you're thinking about a drip campaign for emails, it's not so much what's in the email. It's just the constant reminder that you're in business.
Mhm.
So this one just talks about I'm doing yard care, professionals, your team. But again, it doesn't really matter. The sequence is 21 days, and then you have tasks in here to call. So it reminds you. So when you get 1,500 people, you're going to have random tasks come up that either reminds you to send a handwritten note. I usually send 5 or 6 of these a day, maybe more some days. I hate it when there's 21 to do. I really hate it. But I used to have an assistant. I don't anymore. I'm looking to hire someone right now. I would rather have someone to help me with my CRM management than an ISA
Yeah,
because I don't mind making the calls. My weakness is the follow-up.
we're doing the tasks that.
Doing the task and also my regular stuff and flipping a house. I got 2 houses I'm flipping. You just get busy with life, and I don't want to work more than 4 or 5 hours a day now. So I've got to figure out how to get all that done in the morning and prospect.
So you need a CRM manager.
Yeah. And that's what I say ISA for farmer. If you get the personality of somebody that is very standardized, they will follow the rules of that follow-up system and they won't deviate from it. In majority 96% of the population is our personalities are driven by people liking us. I don't care if someone likes me or not, but most people want to be liked. So those are the ones that want to talk. Those that make good buyer's agents. So you got to be careful. If you don't know your personality, you need to run a test and figure it out.
Yeah. And your saboteurs, by the way, I'll throw that out there. Saboteurs, if you check out the positive intelligence, the guy did a TED talk on it, and he has a whole little test you can take online that looks at how your personality may have saboteurs that are affecting your ability to be successful in your business.
Nice.
Carmine is his name.
Very good.
Okay.
Any other questions?
David, I do. I'm glad that you shared your experience. I've done the same thing. I'm here with my partner at our office, Charlotte, and we've been paying for things and haven't done it. We're in Idaho, so we're in a hot spot where it's really busy. We're top of the nation right now for sales. So we've been legitimately busy, but we want to, I think we're ready to step into this now. And so I feel like an imposter basically because I have the cute little certificate here in my office that says I'm a probate expert. And the thing
You got to fake it till you make it.
Yeah, the thing that we bring to the table too, I think, as a team is going through the experience where you've had to be PR or whatever. And we have gone through that with families and difficult experiences. And we're both, I think our personalities help in that situation because we're able to connect with people in a way. But
That's important.
That's really important. And so that's the feedback that we get from people. We have helped some people, not because of all the leads, but because those people have, you know, similar experience. Yeah, but they've ended up being people that were directed to us and referred to us. So my question is, since it's been so long since we've gone through the course, where would you say we start now? Like, where do we?
You need to take action. So in a goal over 90 days, you got to figure out how you're going to start the process and start implementing people into a database.
Well,
Because once you have the people in your database, you're going to start working these deals and you're going to have these clients call you.
so we have, you know, signed up. So I have the list that actually I just got a list yesterday. And so should I just go ahead and
Just call them. Say, hey, look, I purchased a list of probate files. Be honest with them and was wondering if you need any help. Look up a circle prospecting script and use that for a probate script. Just get on the phones, call them.
what did you say? What script?
Circle prospecting, it's just neighborhood calling, you know, wondering if they need help. And there's ones that are not going to need help. And there's that one or two on the list of 100 that are going to need help. And you got to go through the list to get those. You just do. I mean, I've been calling people for a year and a half that still don't answer my call after I call them initially. That's fine. I know they haven't sold the house yet. I'm going to stay on them.
Okay.
All right, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed. Hope I helped y'all out.
Very helpful. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
welcome.
fantastic.
Thank you, guys. All right. I'll see y'all. I might be hosting next week. We'll dive into the appointments or something, but I'll get with y'all. Take it easy. Bye.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
Bye.